I always wanted to put together an event in which we could bring in the people who are building products for customer success, could come and speak to the folks, and also people who have been champions of customer success for various companies can also come and interact with them. So that would be the panel where the creators of customer success tools and the users who are you, represented by the three lovely folks here, they go and discuss some of the most important thorny issues. So that will be the panel. And after the panel, it will be me. I'll be taking you through some bit of math and science about the customer health. But the first event for which I was most excited about is the keynote that we have, which is an interactive keynote. Your host for the keynote would be my wife for 18 years, 7 months, and 9 days, Mausmi. I count that every day, and I do tally mark. With Mausmi would be Sreedhar. And Sreedhar is the OG of customer success. He actually founded Gainsight. The granddaddy of customer success is Gainsight, is the first company who actually said, you know what, let's move out of CRM. Let's actually treat this as a proper discipline. You can be, Mother Teresa or Spider-Man or whatever it is, but you got to thank these guys at some point for sure because you have a job because of these folks. So I always wanted to have Sreedhar, and Sreedhar is extremely busy. He just landed today at 2 o'clock, and he is here just for his talk. He's going to be here till 7 p.m. It's a pleasure to have Sreedhar here. Of course, you can go and read all about him, his bio. I'll give you 2 quick pointers I really wanted to put together. I have reached out to Sreedhar multiple times for asking for his opinion and feedback while I was building. I'm still building ZapScale. And despite being super busy, he's always given me time. Those half-an-hour calls have gone to 2-hour calls and meetings, and he has always been there. And it's a pleasure to have you, Sreedhar. So please give him a round of applause, Sreedhar and Mausmi.
Thankful that Sreedhar is here. Also because he made time, and also because you actually created this category, frankly.
Not. Thank you. I'll take the compliments.
You can be humble, and we can continue to believe that. But as a category and as, evangelizing this entire structure of how CS comes into being came with the growth of Gainsight. And the kind of evangelizing that Gainsight has done is really amazing for all of us in this sector. So before we move forward, we first want to know, what are you doing nowadays?
Okay, first of all, hi everyone. Great to be here. And when I reflect back upon the journey when we started, and we're trying to figure out, okay, we built this product, I'm talking about 2011, and we're trying to figure out who we even sell to. Are we selling to support, or are we selling to onboarding, or account management? Who is it? It's so good to see so many people with interest in CS. Many of you are CSMs.
You need to...
Okay. Is this better? Okay. Yeah. So good to be here. Thank you for having me. And right now, I'm building my third startup, a company called GTM Buddy. We're building a revenue enablement platform. This is how do you improve the effectiveness of revenue teams. Primarily started off with sales teams as our focus. Now we're looking at how do we extend that to cover CS teams as well. We're not trying to build another Gainsight or a CS platform per se, but when you hire CSMs, how do you onboard them? How do you give them periodic retraining, everboarding as it's called? How do you give them access to content that's important? How do you deliver knowledge, all these product FAQs? This release came up, and so many new things got introduced, and some things are breaking, of course. And how do you deliver that knowledge to the CSMs on the front lines? And when you're engaging with your customers, how do you deliver that content? Content could be the QBRs that you created for that customer, or a thought leadership content, or any of the use case related documentation that you want to share. How do you share that? There's a notion of digital success rooms that we came up with. So this is a use case for the CS teams, which is still, we're building it out. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
So you still have the energy to do next startup. It's absolutely inspirational. I don't think you're ever going to stop with bringing new amazing things for all of us.
I guess there was a point in time post Gainsight's acquisition, I thought, okay, I'm done. And I've retired and talking to people and helping where I can and stuff like that. then you start waking up every day and you start asking a question in terms of what's your purpose in life. No, I just turned 50, by the way. Back then I was 47, 48. So you start wondering, what do you want to do next? And there's only one thing that I know, building companies from the grounds up and back at it again. I don't know, after GTM Buddy, can I do one more? I don't know at this point in time.
Absolutely. So what I want to know now is, when you started, so many years ago, how have you seen customer success as a discipline change from when you started Gainsight to now, when it's been how many years has it been? 12?
So the journey actually started in 2009. It's almost 15 years ago. So when we started off, I think probably mixing up a few questions here. But when we started off, I was getting ready to exit my first company called Host Analytics. And that company had reached certain scale where you start seeing that the board conversation that you are having, there's a subtle shift that we started seeing. So every board conversation, if you have been in one, a lot of time people will say, okay, there are these functions, and every function gets 30 minutes, whatever the time frame, right? And almost always, like 90% of the time ends up with sales team in terms of what's happening on your revenue. And everything else, gets crammed into the remaining 10% of the time, 20% of the time, right? In 2009, that time frame, as a company, we had reached a scale. We started saying that, okay, here is a quarter. Let's say, picking a number here, let's say this quarter is $5 million. And you also start saying that, okay, we renewed $5 million worth of revenue in that same quarter, let's say. Now, at this point in time, that became a point of no return for us. Now, in that 5 million renewal, you started talking about, okay, did I renew 5 million? Did it become 5.1? Or did I lose 500K out of that 5 million? And this started bubbling up. It's no more just talking about, okay, this 5 million was my net new goal. And, okay, did I hit that goal or not? From there, we also started including data around retention. Okay? And churn was almost always a surprise. Expansion was a pleasant surprise, churn was a negative surprise, and you're trying to cover your backsides and so on, right? So that was the trigger in 2009. Started thinking about, okay, we were not a large company, reasonably scaled company, not super large, but if we are facing that problem, then that's a problem for everybody, every company that's even more successful, and or at a scale, that problem is big. And you know what? The problem is going to grow bigger, because there's a point of no return for every SaaS company where every single quarter you reach a point of inflection. This quarter I'm selling 5 million, renewing 5 million. After that quarter, the chances are that your renewals almost always are larger compared to the net new. So this is the inverted funnel that the early days of Gainsight that we started talking about. You have a fat bottom in terms of the install base of customers, and how do you be proactive about it? So this was the trigger. Started with that and felt that there is a pain point here, and started ideating on what could be a solution for this. Right? And almost like 18 months of iterations, I was still with Host Analytics, hired a few interns, rented an apartment in Hyderabad, and meet every weekend and stuff. We were ideating on what could be that product definition. Initially, we thought, we want to build a community, and then we multiple different ideas. Finally, we struck upon some very simple concepts. With that, we built out the initial launch of what became Gainsight. And 2011 is when we launched. Now, it was an interesting first year. So, came out, non-funded, bootstrapped startup. And we have a product. Now, how do I take this product? Who am I selling to? That was $1 million question. It's almost like, everybody talks about, who is your buyer personas and what's the level of intel that you have and all of that. In 2011, you're talking about selling a customer success solution. Who are you selling to? And we tried to pitch to some investors, some very respected investors. And they said like, okay, there's nothing here. You don't even know the very basic questions of who did you build it for? Okay, is there anything here? Okay. And we couldn't answer that question. It's a very simple, legitimate question in terms of who are you selling it to? Who has this pain point? Who is going to pay? Is there a budget line item for this? No answers, nothing. Okay, so we started saying, okay, we sell to the CRO. CRO has account management. There is hunters and farmers separated out. So we are selling to farmers. Okay, people who are looking at expansions and so on. Then we said, okay, we are selling to the onboarding people. Then we said we are selling to support team. Depending on who seems to be more powerful in the company, just talk about them, right? So I took some time to talk about this. And from that time, in 2011, to where we are in 2023 now, customer success is a thing. Witness this here in terms of as a function, you know, how many people, how many jobs created in this function. And there's a career path. It's not just the CSMs anymore. There's customer experience, there's CS ops, multiple other roles that are getting created around this broader ideas, right? And even more importantly, like for every career, you start looking at what's a career path. Okay, I start on a career, right? Okay, I start as a CSM, okay, back in the day. Where am I going to end up in the corporate hierarchy? What's my ladder? How does it even look like? Okay, bingo. 5-6 years ago, you started seeing Chief Customer Officer, CCO role. It's all around. And if you think about it, in the past decade, how many C roles have been created? There was the CEO, there was CRO, CMO, and maybe CHRO, CPO equivalent. But what are the other new CXO roles that got created? It is a Chief Customer Officer. Is there anything else? Can't think of it. That talks about the importance of this function, growing realization of the importance of this function, where the function is elevated to the C level, which is the dream for any new function that emerges. And this function has gotten there in the past decade. Long-winded answer.
Absolutely amazing answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I must say, as we move along, you know, it's not just a company that was created. Essentially, it created so many opportunities, awareness, and jobs for so many people worldwide as the, the category got settled within customer success space. And we can completely understand the kind of struggles you went through when nobody knew what customer success was, and you were trying to define what customer success was in your own journey as a category creator, if I may say so. Is that a fair thing to say, sir?
Pardon me.
You are a category creator, right?
So this it's as a founder, I would like to gloat on that idea of category creation and all of that. But the reality is that if it was not Gainsight, somebody else would have done it.
But you did.
It's just that a company that got deep pockets, raised a lot of money, did the right amount of marketing, evangelization, and all of that. I do believe that if it was not Gainsight, it would have been somebody else. There was an undercurrent, as I mentioned in many of my conversations, that companies don't necessarily create a category. There's a latent need, latent demand that exists in the market. Companies, many people identify that opportunity. Some do something about it. Some are successful, more successful than some others. And there are resources that come together, people that come together. And it's no one person creates a category. It's a team of people. And it's not just a team of people with resources. We're fortunate enough to have raised a lot of capital with little revenue to show for. So what happened, I just mentioned about in 2011, we dealt with a lot of rejections. We were pitching to the VCs and saying, people said, wait, you don't know you don't have a market here. What are you talking about? Why will I fund you? In 2013, by that time frame, we started the early customers, early movement on the creation of that function. From there was a lot of money all of a sudden. And a lot of money goes into a lot of big events, which gives a lot of visibility in a positive way. And as a business, it's an expensive way to grow. But I would say lots of things have come together.
So in this entire journey, you did talk about how you started Gainsight and how CS has changed over the years. So if you had, now the entire CS structure has changed over the years, the acceptance in the industry, CCOs becoming CEOs, we've seen a few in last few years. So if you had to start Gainsight again now, what would you do differently?
Well, there are multiple ways to go about that answer. So if you're saying that, if I'm building another company that's competing with Gainsight, for example, the answer would be very different, which I may not want to necessarily get into. So I would keep that aside. Having said that, there are a few other broader trends that I feel comfortable talking about, right? So when we started back in 2011, it's not just about Gainsight, but it's about the evolution of technology, AI in particular. There are a lot of things that are possible today, which are not even possible back then. These are not possible. Like, we have created our first data science team back in 2013 with people with PhDs from the MITs and Stanfords and so on. Okay? We had a data science team for a long time. Okay? It's not the lack of investment in that area, but the way the models have evolved in terms of what is possible today was not possible back then. So companies that are born now or in the recent times, you can be an AI native platform. Yes, Gainsight adds its own capabilities on the AI side. Salesforce adds its capabilities. Everybody adds the capabilities. But there is a unique opportunity right now for many companies where you can build a platform that's built grounds up on the foundations of AI. Okay, AI is no more a lip talk. And I've been using AI, by the way, as a founder for, God knows, 20 years now. So we started talking about predictive analytics back in 2004. Okay, so predictive analytics is like digressing just to reinforce that point. Like, AI has been around for a while as a marketing talk track. We're talking about predictive analytics as a way in terms of, you have operating plans, budgets, and planning, FP&A side of the world. And we give you predictive analytics in terms of, this is how your year is going to pan out, the next year is going to pan out. We call it predictive analytics. But what's under the hood is a glorified what-if analysis, where you plug in certain assumptions, and we built an engine that automatically calculates the model and throws out some numbers. We call it predictive analytics. Okay. Now, in today's world, that doesn't need to be the case. You can do a lot more. Okay. And another example in the case of Gainsight, when we formed this data science team, so it was still new, and you go to a customer, and everybody wants a crystal ball. The moment you say we have a data science team, tell me which customer is going to churn. Okay, when are they going to churn? And I need to get a notification 6 months ahead so that I can plan, right? This churn prediction thing became like, oversized, the unrealistic expectations around that and so on, okay? And it was unrealistic back then because the data was sparse and data was limited, okay? For any model to predict, like those credit card fraud predictions models have been built like 30 years ago, right? But it is dependent on a lot of data. In the customer success world, you don't have that much data, especially for a given customer. What's the duration? If it's the first renewal coming up, you probably have 12 months worth of data, okay? And for most companies, you don't have data spanning across 10 years where you can start predicting stuff and so on, right? So let's take a pause there on that story. I can go on. I'm an old guy. I can talk about a lot of things for a long time. But come 2023, a lot of times people, the moment you talk about AI, it's ChatGPT, right? Prompt-based UI. But there's so much more to AI beyond that, right? Today you can actually do predictions on smaller data sets. There's a lot of research going on right now. There are models that are available right now, okay? Companies that are able to take advantage of these things, that can be a game changer, right? And yes, existing large players also will do it. Gainsight will do it. Totango will do it. Everybody else also will do it. But who is able to execute better and faster? And the advantage of a younger company is that you can move fast. You can be a large ship. They might know everything that needs to be done. But steering a large ship when you have hundreds and thousands of customers, it's hard. Change management is a big thing, right? So that's the advantage that the younger companies have now.
You've answered my next question. Actually, my next question was going to be, what is the future of CS? And I think you've answered it very nicely with AI and all of these things that need to come. Is there anything else that you want to put forward?
Actually, future of CS, I do have a question. It's a question on my mind. I don't have an answer. Okay, full disclosure. So, when we started off, okay, CS, we were focusing on SaaS companies, right? 13 years later, we're still talking about SaaS companies, tech companies. Tech and CS are kind of, okay, if you're a tech company, you should have a CS function, right? That's the case. But the ideas of customer success have evolved. Now, what is the meaning of customer success in other verticals? So what does customer success mean in manufacturing? What does it mean in healthcare? What does it mean in financial services? Why are we not even talking about it? Okay, it's not just the lack of effort. There was some effort, even from my personal experience, there was some effort, but it's a heavy lift. Okay, that could be another opportunity for those of you who are building in terms of, you might not call it customer success. Let's say you will not go into a healthcare industry, to a hospital, and say that, you call patient success or whatever. I don't know what you would call it. But is there are there ideas that we have learned from customer success? Can we take it and apply it in other industries, other verticals? I think there is a big opportunity. All said and done, SaaS is a finite market. There are limits to that market. But if you're able to crack that verticals, humongous.
Thank you very much, Sreedhar. Thanks a lot. I think I have never seen such a quiet crowd.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sreedhar. 150 people in the team, absolutely pin drop silence. Thank you very much. Let's give them a very big round of applause, people.